Hello, and welcome to Daniel's Inferno. My name is Daniel. Thank you for joining me today. If you have a moment, please like, subscribe, share, join the conversation below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to start my video today with the deepest and most heartfelt condolences to the family members, friends, and loved ones of the 176 individuals who passed away in the Ukrainian plane crash in Iran today. We are going to talk about that plane crash as well as Donald Trump's stance on Iran after the damages were assessed for the missile strike yesterday. So, Donald Trump did a speech today where he came out and his opening words were that while he's president, Iran will not have nuclear weapons. He came out, talked a little bit, and 30 seconds after that first statement, he followed up by saying that Iran is the sponsor of terrorism in the region, and that while he is president, they will never have the nuclear capabilities. However, he will not put Americans in harm's way. That is the takeaway from this. He is de-escalating the situation. Through the wee hours of the night, he and his top advisors were in a room together discussing the best plan for Iran. And they decided to go with sanctions. I think everybody is quite happy. They are quite impressed with how Donald Trump has handled the situation. At least many people are impressed, I should say. I'd actually like to say a poll came out today in Canada. 28% of Canadians think that Donald Trump would do the right, make the right decision when it came to the world. It's a lot more than I'd actually expected. Ironically, there's probably 20 to 30% of our population who don't like that, who don't like the fact that people like myself or other Canadians can see the good in Trump and be intellectually honest about what Trump has done, about the positives of Trump. And it was all over Twitter. I'll show you a little later. But my lord, people were, there are a bunch of right-wing nut jobs in Canada. How, what are we ever going to do with them? Get over yourselves, right-wing nut jobs. Yeah, okay. Wanting a discussion as being a nut job today, I guess, folks. So, there were no American casualties from the strike. And Iraqi officials have said none of their troops were killed or injured. The Supreme Leader called the country's missile strike a slap to Americans, but said Iran's real revenge will be forcing the U.S. to pull out of the region. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif said Iran does not seek escalation or war, but will defend ourselves against any aggression. A lot of people believe that the Iran strike was planned to do as little damage as humanly possible, and that they weren't actually seeking to kill anybody, or if they were, it would be as little amount of people as possible, because they knew deaths resulting from those two strikes would probably escalate the situation much further. I actually claimed yesterday in my video, or this morning in my video, Trump would open up double barrels, and I still believed he would have. And because there were no casualties, he's going the sanctions route, I believe. And again, I believe it's a smarter route to go. I believe that Barack Obama's Iran nuclear deal was one of the biggest blunders in American foreign policy ever, and I'm glad that it was ripped up. I am so happy Trump just, no more of that. So I would like to show you guys the Twitter reaction to Trump's speech. I've actually been surprised. Excuse me for a moment. I've been quite surprised about how little negativity I've been seeing. How little negativity I've been seeing towards Trump's speech. Oh my lord, let's read this. Obama versus Trump. There were inspections, now there are not. There was compliance, now there is not. There was diplomacy, now there is not. There was cooperation and consensus of Iran and UN. Now there is not. There was no threat of war. Now there is. What a Nat Saver, you're insane. The threat of war is de-escalating from what's been happening. Now, it's not going further. Oh my lord. Of course, Donald Trump slurs his tongue. Oh lord. Never mind about the fact that I said I haven't been seeing much negativity. Here, we're seeing it right now. I think people are really, really, really blowing this out of proportion. No casualties that resulted from the missile strikes. Of course, there was damages, but there were no casualties. Trump said in his speech that past presidents knew about Qassem Soleimani and did nothing about him and let him and his Quds Force, which is the overseas or foreign arm of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, they just allowed him to run rampant in the region. The fact that he was responsible for 15% of deaths and he was left to just roam free is boggling to me. The U.S. has the capability. Like, Obama was the deporter-in-chief and had the most drone strikes in history. Why didn't he use one of those drone strikes to take out this individual before more Americans were killed? Were Americans killed due to Qassem and his machinations while Obama was president? The fact that Trump took him out and people were giving him flack for it is beyond the pale. I think what he did was right. I think the fact that he took out these individuals, both the Iraq leader of the Shia militias and Qassem, they're gone. They are no longer a threat. They are no longer going to injure people. The retaliation had no casualties. Trump is now going with sanctions. The situation does not look to be escalating. It looks to be de-escalating, at least on the side of the U.S. and Iran. Of course, we will see in coming days. We will see how hard the sanctions hit Iran. I remember when they were under sanctions years ago, and I remember hearing stories about the quality of life, how bad it was, because such a large portion of the Iranian economy was held up under these sanctions. Like, it was really, really, like, it took a lot away. So sanctions do work. You know, the people feel them. And when the people feel the repercussions of something, they look to the government, and when the government doesn't fix that or do something about it, we know what happens. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the plane crash. This is obviously horrid, just beyond terrible. Again, my heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of the 176 people aboard. I don't want to be not alarmist. I don't want to be, making more out of this than there is. But there are a few details of this situation that are very, very suspect. And we need to investigate those details, and we need answers to it. So, a Ukrainian airliner carrying 176 people crashed on the outskirts of Tehran, which is the capital of Iran, during a takeoff attempt Wednesday, hours after Iran launched its missile attack on the U.S. forces. First suspect, just hours after the missiles were launched. So the airspace in Iran, the tensions in Iran would have been hot and they would have been high. That's one of the factors. The Iranian military disputed any suggestion the plane had been blown out of the sky by a missile. Iranian aviation authorities said they suspected a mechanical problem brought down the 3.5-year-old Boeing 737. Ukrainian officials originally agreed but later backed away and declined to offer a cause while the investigation is going on. The airline jet was en route to the Ukrainian capital of Kiev with 176 passengers and 9 crew members from several countries, including 82 Iranians, at least 63 Canadians, and 11 Ukrainians. I am honestly very, very hurt that so many people and so many of my own countrymen died. And that is one of the reasons we need answers. When Boeing 737s have gone down in the past, like the Malaysian airliner, and we haven't gotten proper answers, and I don't want this situation to become another one of those. I don't. Some of the details here. I will share the link in the description. You guys can go ahead and see it, but some of the details are very heart-wrenching. I'm saying that now. A team of Ukrainian experts will go to Tehran to help investigate the crash. Our priority is to find the truth and everyone responsible for the tragedy. Canada, where the crash ranked among the worst losses of life for Canadians in an aviation disaster. The flag over our parliament in Ottawa was lowered to half-staff, and the PM said the country is shocked and saddened. He vowed the government will work to ensure that this crash is thoroughly investigated and that Canadians' questions are answered. We are going to hold him to that. And I am saying that as someone who really does not like Trudeau. But that is a very soft statement to make. Iran will not release the black box details. And any details they will release will be very, very few and far between. We need our Prime Minister, our leader, to act like a leader now. We need him to find out what happened so that Canadians will have the answers they need and that the world will get the answers they need, not just Canadians. So, major world airliners rerouted flights around the Middle East to avoid the danger. The plane had been delayed from taking off from Tehran's Imam Khomeini's International Airport by almost an hour and never made it above 8,000 feet, crashing just minutes after takeoff. A spokesman for Iran's Road and Transportation Ministry said it appeared a fire erupted in one of its engines and the pilot lost control of the plane. So they're claiming this before any investigations were done. That's another detail we need to remember. No investigations had been done. I saw a video on Twitter of somebody who actually captured the plane when it must have been just burst into flames and started to come down, and showed what happened. The pilot apparently couldn't communicate with air traffic controllers in Tehran in the last moments of the flight, said the head of the Air Crash Investigation Committee. He did not elaborate. That's a little suspect as well. Ukrainian International Airlines president said the aircraft was one of the best planes they had, with an amazing reliable crew. The airline went further, saying given the crew's experience, error probability is minimal. We do not even consider such a chance. That's a very, very strong statement for them to make. A spokesman for the Iranian Armed Forces was quoted by the semi-official Fars news agency as denying the plane had been brought down by a missile. The rumors are completely false, and no military or political expert has confirmed it. He said the rumors were psychological warfare by the government opponents. That's bullshit. Authorities said they found the plane's so-called black boxes, but it was not immediately clear how much access to the information Iranians would allow. Aviation experts were skeptical about Iran's initial claim the plane was brought down by a mechanical problem. This is the last suspect detail, at least the last big one. I don't see how they would have known that so quickly, said John Hansman, an aeronautics professor at MIT. MIT is quite prestigious. Okay? So this man's word is worth quite a bit to be a tenured professor at MIT. They hadn't had time to look at the flight data recorder. They probably hadn't had time to investigate the physical wreckage of the engines. How do you know it was a mechanical issue versus a surface-to-air missile that went in the engine? Many planes have systems that send huge amounts of technical data to the airline and the manufacturer, but it was unclear whether Ukrainian International had paid to download the information automatically. A Boeing spokesman denied to say whether the company obtained any information about the jet during its ill-fated flight. Of course it did. The crash left a wide field of debris. Rescuers en masse shouted over the noise of hovering helicopters. This is honestly very, very, very sad that this has happened. Here we go. The jet had went down on Wednesday and had last underwent routine maintenance on Monday. 2 days ago it went and had routine maintenance. So you tell me, unless they are so incompetent on their maintenance, that even if that was the case, we would see many more planes have issues. It would not just be like little blips here and there, in my opinion at least. The reaction on Twitter is partially what I'd like to see. Not enough people, in my opinion, are questioning what's happening. Everyone is sad, quite clearly. This is a sad situation. Some people, like this individual, don't believe it. So while Iran is lobbing missiles, a Ukrainian international airline Boeing 737 crashes due to mechanical problems. Oh, and Iran won't turn over the black box. Ron Burgundy, I don't believe you. This has got all the hallmarks of a SAM strike. Also explains why Iran won't release the black box. Poor people on board. A lot of these people were students. Oh, this is terrible. This woman... Somebody was married on this past Friday and they were returning home to Canada. That's awful, honestly. What has happened here, we obviously can't jump the gun. We cannot, immediately point fingers. But we need to investigate the suspect details that I have laid out, in my opinion. And the fact that Iran will not release the black box, because of Iran's history, a lot of people would probably say, oh, that's not very surprising. But if it was a mechanical problem, it would be a lot easier to release the information to clear yourself of any suspicion, especially during what's going on. As a Canadian, I want to know what happened. Iran, what happened? Justin Trudeau, it is up to you to answer the questions, to find out the details of the suspect issues. Be a leader. Don't be a pussy. Thank you for watching today. I'm Daniel's Inferno.